If you're running out of good movies to watch, let me recommend 10 fantastic flicks just recently added to the free streaming app Tubi. This top 10 list includes a wide variety with a few fantastic primers for Halloween, the magnum opus of cheesy 80s action flicks, and a highly underrated prison flick at the #1 spot. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this video, but let's kick off this list with an underrated heist flick titled Armored. Admittedly, a middle-of-the-road action movie, but it stars Matt Dillon and Lawrence Fishburne. And even though it's from 2008, it does have kind of a straight-to-streaming quality to it. So even though it's not as good as top-notch heist flicks like The Town, it does have a lot in common with those. Plays things a bit more cheesy, kind of the way Liam Neeson action flicks do nowadays. Or at least it's in a similar wheelhouse if you're into that sort of thing.
Got you, man.
The only movie I can think of that is directly about the Jack the Ripper killings is From Hell, starring Johnny Depp and Heather Graham. A really slick movie about Jack the Ripper that's got a lot of great touches. I mean, Jack the Ripper is a true story. To this day, it's still one of the most notorious true crime stories or serial killer stories. And even though From Hell is pretty far from being a perfect movie, it's a decent attempt at telling the Jack the Ripper story, which revolve around some distinctly brutal murders if you're not already intimately familiar with Jack the Ripper. So the movie itself can be pretty bloody, yet it's not really a horror movie. It's much more of a thriller period piece.
One day, men will look back and say that I gave birth to the 20th century.
You're not going to see the 20th century.
A thriller with a just completely bizarre setup and strange tone is a cult classic from the late 90s, Jawbreaker, which is a pretty funny, satirical thriller, I guess we can say. It's not based on anything factual, yet it kind of captures that 90s culture you would see in other movies like Clueless. Hell, this movie even has a lot in common with Mean Girls, but with a much darker story. You follow a clique of young girls led by Rose McGowan. This is one of her more successful movies, or as far as movies she leads, it's certainly her most successful. But this group of girls accidentally kill the prom queen with a jawbreaker. That's kind of the setup for the movie, and everything else is just chaos. The movie's also pretty sexy. You've also got a great little role from Pam Grier in the movie as like a detective, and Marilyn Manson is in this movie with no makeup. I think it's the only time I've ever seen him without makeup. All of those things are reasons why Jawbreaker has become a cult classic that you may have never heard of.
You ever seen one of these before?
No.
No? Take a lot of licks to get one of these things down. It's hard. You frighten me.
Now, we still got my top 5 movies on this list, but before that, I do want to point out that I'll be 41 pretty soon, and I remember when I turned 40 that I kept putting off getting a checkup. I knew I needed one at 40. Every time I tried, the process felt overwhelming. I was scrolling through endless doctor listings, not sure who took my insurance or if I could even trust the reviews, and it was so frustrating I would just give up and move on to something else. Then I heard about the sponsor of today's video, ZocDoc. It's a completely free website that makes it incredibly easy to find and book high-quality in-network doctors with over 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty. ZocDoc makes it easy to find and book a doctor that takes your insurance near you. The website is super simple to use. I just entered my name, location, and insurance plan and was immediately presented with a long list of local doctors that all take my insurance. I was even able to sort them based on distance so I could find one close to home. So I booked an appointment the same day, called my insurance to make sure that doctor was in fact in my network. They were. And I completed a standard checkup in the same day. The doctor was great too. He answered all my questions and I was in and out of there in I think less than 8 minutes. ZocDoc also makes it easy to book dentists, eye doctors, dermatologists, therapists, and more. And I think ZocDoc's extensive verified patient reviews were maybe the best part. Each listing featured a bunch of real patients sharing real feedback on the doctor's bedside manner, the office environment, wait times. Again, this is totally free to use, and I was able to find and see a doctor in the same day. There's no need to call the doctor's office and wait on hold or anything like that. ZocDoc lets you do all of this online. Stop waiting, stop guessing, start getting the care you need. Visit my link in the video description or just go to ZocDoc.com tubi.com/flick to instantly find and book a top-rated doctor today. It's a free tool I highly recommend, but speaking of free things I highly recommend, let's get to the top 5 picks on this list. A creature feature thriller from just a few years ago that I think went just bizarrely underrated was Crawl. This is produced by Sam Raimi, and even though it doesn't have that quintessential Sam Raimi vibe, it is still an excellent monster movie about an alligator. You actually follow a young woman trapped in a house during a hurricane when she discovers there's this giant alligator lurking outside and under the floorboards of the house. And that's literally all this movie is. It's just her trapped in this house with alligators. So it's got kind of a Jaws type quality. It's a little cheesier. It goes a bit more over the top, but it seems to trade all those things off for entertainment value, making this movie just a hell of a thrill ride, even if it's not classic movie material like Jaws. If you like movies like that, there's a lot to love with Crawl.
Wait down here! Did you hear that?
Now, I promised some great primers for the Halloween season. We've technically already had a few on this list, but just a real great Halloween vibe movie is the remake of Fright Night. Yes, a remake. They're not all awful. I mean, yes, I'll agree most of them are. Fright Night is an exceptional one, though. The original Fright Night from the 80s just has a cool, fun vibe. It's a truly tense horror movie with a bunch of comical elements as well, and that's what you get with the remake. Anton Yelchin stars in this, one of the last movies he did before he died, and Colin Farrell does a great job of playing the vampire in this movie. And the story's true to the original. In fact, the only real reason they seem to have made it at all is just for an update. A modern, fresh update. I love it. I think the movie's got a great look to it. Again, Colin Farrell is fantastic as the vampire. It feels like it pays tribute to the original while also being fresh and inventive. I just really enjoy this one as a Halloween watch, and it's a fun one. It might scare you a bit. It's not going to terrify you after the fact, and is a thoroughly entertaining ride from beginning to end, I think.
I really hate to be the one to tell you this, but that guy, your neighbor?
Jerry.
Yeah, he's a vampire.
That is a terrible vampire name. Jerry?
Nicolas Cage makes the list with one of my favorite movies he released last year. He's typically got 3 or 4 every single year. But Dream Scenario stood out to me just because of how unique the setup for this movie is. He plays a painfully ordinary man in this movie who suddenly starts appearing in the dreams of not just strangers, but like a significant portion of the population. What's even more bizarre is nothing happens. He's just sort of standing there while they're dreaming. So everyone's almost being visited by this guy in their dreams, catapulting him to fame instantly. And that is what this movie is about. It's not about dreams or anything like that. It's about instant fame, something that happens to people often in our culture today, especially through the evolution of social media. But, ordinary people suddenly thrust into the spotlight, and Dream Scenario does a great job of exploring all the pitfalls in this situation. He quickly goes to being loved by everybody, and then quickly goes to being hated by everybody. Again, something that can happen to people in today's culture, and Dream Scenario is a just completely interesting and honestly visually stunning representation of that.
Have you been dreaming about me?
Have I been dreaming about you?
Yeah.
Whether you're a Nicolas Cage fan or not, you might want to check out my shirt shop. I've got a couple of Nicolas Cage designs over there, including this Cage Against the Machine design. If you don't like big designs on the front, my bestsellers now come with designs on the back and a little icon right here. But those are only available at my website, darrenvandam.com, where you could also sign up for my free email newsletter. I send out 5 movie recommendations every Friday, typically new releases I haven't discussed here on the channel yet.
Glad you could drop in. You like jewelry?
One of the greatest action comedy buddy movies of all time is almost never available on streaming ever. I don't see it anywhere. Tango Cash is on Tubi for a limited time right now. My goodness, do I love this movie. This is a quintessential cheesy 80s action movie. They lean into it, they're silly, they're over the top in almost every single scene. Almost as wild as spoofs like The Last Action Hero. Not quite as wild, but Tango Cash is just so perfectly over the top. You've also got Kurt Russell and Stallone really doing an amazing job. I'm surprised they didn't do other movies together. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not some awesome relic of 80s action like Die Hard or Predator. I'm telling you, this is a goofy ass movie that is loads of fun to watch. Like, you can tell they had fun making it. They never take themselves seriously in this thing, which is, I think, why it's so enjoyable to watch.
He thinks he's Rambo.
Rambo is a...
After a handful of ridiculous, just gross out horror movies he started his career with, but before directing The Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson did a horror movie that I think is still gone underrated. It's titled The Frighteners. Just like Fright Night, this is a fantastic Halloween watch. It's not terrifying, but it does have a great story, and it's also the last good movie Michael J. Fox ever starred in. He plays a paranormal investigator in this horror comedy movie, and what I love about it is it shares a lot in common with Peter Jackson's early movies. These low-budget, down-and-dirty movies he did, like Bad Taste and Dead Alive, movies I absolutely love. The Frighteners is more of a big-budget Hollywood production, but he still brought that kind of campy vibe from his other movies to this thing, and I think it works great. The humor is still funny in this movie. Michael J. Fox is still entertaining to watch, and even though a lot of the visual effects seem pretty dated in this movie, it doesn't really matter. The movie's entertaining enough, you can just look right past that stuff.
Okay, well, folks, I can do a clearance, but it's not going to be cheap. Although I do offer a 6-month guarantee.
If that's not enough scares for you, my bonus recommendation in this video is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, an anthology produced by Guillermo del Toro. Came out just a few years ago. One of the better horror anthologies I've seen in recent years.
What's that?
It's a book of scary stories.
But if you want to talk about horror remakes, next up, I've got one of the most classic horror movies of all time that has, to this day, yet to get any sort of remake, reboot, or really anything significantly related to Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, this is maybe my favorite of the true classic monster movies. You know, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, the Mummy, all those. I love Creature from the Black Lagoon, mainly because of the incredible underwater cinematography. I mean, this is 1954. You see how many gray hairs I've got in my beard? This movie predates my father. That's how old it is. And I still find it thoroughly entertaining, especially for the hour and 19-minute runtime. The creature design still looks fantastic. The movie's got some legitimate scares in it, but all of the underwater stuff just looks incredible. So to me, The Creature from the Black Lagoon is great because it is a classic monster movie. You get what you want with that. It's kind of like revisiting this old relic of like Hollywood horror history. At the same time, though, it is thoroughly entertaining. It's not like you're going to be bored out of your mind watching this old thing. Maybe that's why we have not got a remake, because we don't need one. Now, my number one pick is going to catch some of you by surprise. It really doesn't fit in with anything else we've talked about so far, but it's one of Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence's most underrated movies, and I rarely see it available on streaming: Life. Two men that are actually strangers, they're played by Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy, are wrongfully convicted and thrown into a southern prison where they develop a pretty strong friendship. And it's a surprisingly good movie. Now, it's surprising because it was really billed as a comedy. This is from the director of Liar Liar and other silly movies, and the movie is a all-out comedy. It's very funny, it's got a bunch of jokes in it, but it's also an incredible prison movie. It's a period piece, focuses a lot on the racism of the 1930s, but it's not a knee-slapper goofball comedy. It actually has some pretty heavy things to say about this situation. It does not really take it lightly, which gives Life a bizarre tone, less than a perfect one even, but still makes for a top-notch movie I highly recommend that I know has gone criminally underrated.
Goddamn, party. Get the back
You about ready to spend the night in the hole, boy.
Here's a recap of the list. I hope you found something to watch. If you did, leave the video a like. It is so helpful. And if you want more recommendations from me in the future, I do 1 or 2 videos every single week, so make sure that subscribe button is clicked. If it is red, that means you're not subscribed to my channel. I'll keep making these as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for watching this Tubi episode, and you will see me on the next one.